Our project is designed to express why we should use gene editing technology in our company. My name is Audrey Armbruster.
I'm Catherine Sant.
I'm Katie Herda.
I'm Chance Fitzgerald.
Justin Lagurnik.
I'm Anthony Wilkie.
After the economic changes brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, our company took intentional time to reassess our mission, vision, and values. We recognized that the world had shifted, bringing new expectations for responsibility, transparency, and ethical innovation. We wanted to ensure that our guiding principles reflected that new reality. Our mission remains the foundation of everything we do. We exist to responsibly advance gene editing technologies that prevent disease with a commitment to enhancing human life. After COVID, we left behind any assumptions that scientific progress alone is enough. The pandemic reminded us that trust, communication, and responsibility must be built into our core purpose. Our vision builds on this as well. We strive to create a safe and ethical genetic innovation that elevates quality of life. We shifted our long-term focus toward accessibility, public trust, and resilience. Before, our vision emphasized technological advancement. Now it emphasizes advancement that people can rely on, understand, and feel confident in. Our values guide how we pursue both our mission and vision. We uphold integrity, ensuring our decisions reflect what is right. We prioritize transparency, recognizing that openness builds trust with our patients, partners, and the public. Finally, we commit to improving human life in every choice we make, ensuring that people, not just innovation, remain the heart of our work. Together, these three elements now form a clear, more aligned identity for our company.
So we use the STAR framework to help guide us in our decision making and how to apply our ethical framework. So one of the questions that we were thinking about is basically ethically, how do we maximize safety, equality, and effectiveness for our product? And we're trying to do this for the people who buy our product, our employees, and pretty much anyone else affected by our product. And some of the ways we thought that we could do this is that we do extra testing on our gene products to ensure that they're safe and they meet all the requirements to be sold. And then also another one would be only doing this for certain diseases that are more important than others. So not for just recreational use, but for only things that are extremely important and that need to be solved to help someone's life. So yeah.
Moving on to the test piece of the STAR framework, we decided to do 3 tests on our solutions. The first one is the respect test, which answers does this action show respect for others and uphold moral values like honesty, fairness, and integrity? So going into the disease prevention, we think that this passes the test because it shows respect to all levels. It doesn't kind of hold one above the other. And we kind of think it's mixed for the second solution just because obviously if you're able to afford the treatment, that kind of gives you an upper hand in the situation and not necessarily all recipients giving the same type of treatment. And then in terms of not launching anything, we think that this does pass the test because it just respects everyone not getting the treatment at all. Our next test is the peer test, which talks about kind of would my peers, people I respect professionally or ethically, consider this action acceptable if you did it? And we do think the first one did, obviously, just because preventing disease for children is very health focused, not profit driven. So we think that that would pass the test. We don't think that the disease prevention and the child enhancement would, just because many peers wouldn't approve of obvious advantageous or unfair practices or giving people kind of a leg up in any situation. And then for not launching it, we're not really sure as well, just because obviously we're not preventing any disease there and we're also like delaying benefits and profits. So just kind of weighing those different pros and cons. And then our last consequentialism harm test, which answers, will this action cause harm to anyone directly or indirectly? We think that disease prevention, obviously, it would kind of reduce harm. And then for the second solution, it wouldn't work just because with child enhancement, that kind of does more negatives than goods in terms of giving people, again, like a leg up in different situations. And then for not launching at all, it's kind of inconclusive just because we aren't reducing that harm with disease prevention, but we're still kind of avoiding that child enhancement.
Moving on to the ACT portion of the STAR framework, our team's final decision is to move forward with solution one, which means gene editor would offer genetic disease prevention services only and would not offer enhancement services with the disease prevention. And this recommendation came directly from the results of the ethical test matrix. Disease prevention passed all three ethical tests, the virtue, the peer test, and the harm test. And then in contrast, the other two tests only partially passed all three. And then because of this, solution one aligns most closely with the company's mission and values, especially our commitments to safety, responsibility, equity, and transparency. Some of the short-term effects are that we can expect consistent revenue growth from the medical applications. And then in addition, the legal and regulatory risks will be lower because we aren't going with the enhancements at this time. And then this helps keep costs stable. And there is some potential loss in market share by not entering the enhancements, just because obviously some people were looking for that for their children. The long-term effects of rolling out the disease prevention only is that we strengthen our brand reputation because we're choosing the safer route and the more ethical route. The company faces lower exposure to lawsuits and public distrust, again, just because we're looking at the safer and the more ethical route. And then we're also building trust with our regulators now, which will make future approvals easier. And then enhancement services can still be added later. Once the technology is proven safe, we can roll that out. And then avoiding unsafe enhancements also prevents public backlash, which can damage the entire company moving forward. So we're really just taking precaution in that regard. And then our group reasoning for choosing solution one was because during our discussions, we compared the high potential profits of enhancements to the ethical and scientific concerns surrounding them. And then we ultimately felt that focusing solely on disease prevention aligns with our most with our morals and our responsibilities. And then we agreed that protecting patient safety and maintaining public trust outweigh the short-term revenue losses from not rolling out the enhancement services. And then as a group, we felt that this path positions Gene Editor for long-term success, stability, and credibility.
For the reflect section of the STAR framework, we dove into research about companies who are trying to get into a similar line of work that we were trying to get into. And we found that a lot of these companies that transition into this genetic enhancement or editing world received a lot of backlash for moving too quickly. So, and a lot of these companies, they had to pull back the efforts to extreme levels or even just scrap the idea as a whole. So obviously our choice to pursue solution one, which would be solely distributing the disease prevention aspect, directly responds to the shortcomings that other companies like ours experienced when they tried to get into this genetic modification world. And when we look at these comparisons compared to the decision that we ended up making, it really shows the foundation of support beneath our choice, which highlights safety, fairness, and transparency. And then for the profitability analysis, we ran the test. We found that solution one was tested to be the most ethical. This isn't a question anymore. We found that it was definitely the best choice for the longevity of our company. And because we are solely diving into a small section of the initial plan, we save a lot of money that would have otherwise gone towards rolling out the entire gene editor idea in masses. So therefore, our short-term profitability benefits greatly. That being said, the gene modification sector is such a niche and expensive area to work in. The revenue we generate from rolling out the disease prevention side of the product would outweigh the cost by enough margin for us to be able to comfortably remain profitable and grow steadily. Our long-term profitability is affected positively as well.
After a group analysis and extensive research, we've came to the conclusion that implementing the genetic prevention disease is the most ethical and also the most profitable decision we can make, and including all the variables that companies in the past have done, and rolls into one of the grand decisions for the future of this company as well.